Okay, folks, this is part two for week number 9. Week number nine's instructional video. It's Dr. E. And I want to just show you what essentially you should see when you look at the module for week 9, right? If this is selected on this left-hand side. So I've placed the 1301 annotated bibliography template there that I talked about in the previous video. I urge you to consider using that, as well as the explanation for the annotated bibliography assignment. So when you go to create that single document with all of your annotations, you can review the guidelines as needed. I've also placed the copy of the choice citation here so that if you need to adjust what you submitted with the original annotation exercise for choice work, you have access to the citation here. And then for Sunday, don't forget your reading journal is due, so I also wanted to supply you with the assignment guidelines for the reading journal, as well as the template if you want to take a look at, how to set up that single document for all of those readings. Remember that for the reading journal assignment, it should be one single document uploaded with all of the entries for the readings. It should not be a separate document for each week or each individual reading. Please don't do that. That's not the assignment. Okay, I also have posted a document that shows you how to access your feedback for Turnitin. And so when I ask you to go or tell you you need to go and look at your annotation exercise feedback for the first and second assignment you submitted, so you had one for choice work and one for Kluger's work, this is where to go and what to do in order to take a look at that feedback. And I'm going to go over that in just a second, but I posted the document here. There's also the week 9 participation quiz, so make sure you complete that by Sunday at 11:59 p.m., if not before. And then you'll see the discussion area for week number 9. And I want to warn y'all, we've got a lot of ground to cover, so take your time in reading and going through this information. And I put some lines to separate the days that you should access this. So, you'll read this in order to then post your uploaded document on Wednesday. And then in order to prepare for Friday, this is what you need to do. And then by Sunday, this is what you need to do. Okay, so don't get overwhelmed by the length of it. Just take it in chunks and reread where and when necessary. Okay, the first thing I want you to note is that, again, this is going to be groups. So if you go into the discussion area, you're not going to see anything. You're not going to see anybody's posts. You won't see anything until you post your initial thread. And in that initial thread, when you start that, you need to make sure that you have your document ready, right? So this walks through what you need to do to set up that document, okay? To view the feedback, it reminds you to go in. I strongly, strongly suggest you utilize the template. Just saying. And so based on the feedback that I've provided on your first 2 exercises, you need to revise and edit. Somewhere in there, I've reminded you, by the time you view this, if you view this on Monday morning, I should have their feedback ready for you for your first annotation exercise for choice work. It may take me until Monday evening to return your second annotation exercise feedback for Kluger's work. It's taking me quite a bit of time to type feedback because I'm still having some issues with my wrist. And just generally trying to deal with that because I'm old and falling apart. So please be patient. This is not the norm. I don't like that you've waited this long for the feedback, but please just hang in there and I'll provide that. So you need to update based on my feedback and just reviewing the exercise or the assignment requirements. And then once you've done all of this, now you're ready to post. So, you need to put your name as the title in the subject line when you start your thread. Some of you did not do this previously, so please make sure that you're doing this. It not only helps me grade, but it also helps your group members know, okay, if I need to access Mary's post, I can just quickly click on her name because that is, going to take me to her post, not somebody else's, because the subject line is already set up that way. I want you to make sure that you're posting your annotated bibliography document. It needs to be, y'all, in Word format. So it needs to be in .doc or .docx format, not in Pages or actually in PDF. Usually PDF is fine for submitting in D2L, but for this week, we want to make sure that our group members can open it and actually work with the document, so it needs to be in Word format. So if you need to figure out how to do this, then start Googling, start figuring out how to save as, right? Usually it is just a matter of clicking Save As and making sure that the end of the file looks this way, okay? So you need to attach your document, and then you need to write at least one paragraph about any concerns you have related to the assignment. What are some questions you still have about, ensuring you've done it properly? What are some of the steps you went through? So this is kind of practice on creating an abstract paragraph, which is what you'll need to do for your paper portfolio. But essentially, you're just giving your group members some background so that, they have a little bit of that background before they jump in and offer you some feedback, okay? So you need to post by Wednesday, and then by Friday you need to offer feedback for every member of your group. Okay, that takes time, and that's why I'm saying don't wait until the last minute. Keep looking to see if other people have posted their work. I want you to open the document and use the track changes feature and in Microsoft Word. So let me pull that up pretty quickly. So these are some reminders that I'm going to have and I'm going to go over for week 9. But essentially, yours may look a little different, but what you can click is review. You probably have a review tab and some form of the track changes option. So you want to make sure that you put this on. Okay, and then so if you click here, maybe you want to highlight a text and leave a comment. So you click new comment over to the side. This looks like you're doing the work correctly or something. So whether it is a positive kind of feedback or something that you're suggesting, you can put it over to the side here, or you can just start typing and say, okay, so if you type, your feedback in Word is going to be red, okay? That's usually the default. So that's how you track changes. You make sure that this is selected. So you may have to Google how to do this in your version of Microsoft Word. That's okay. And so when you go to save it, that's again when you click File. I'm off screen right now, but I'm clicking File, Save As, and then this appears, right? From a drop-down menu, you should be able to select PDF. Okay, so you want to save the PDF, make sure you've titled it, Mary's feedback for annotated bib or something, and save it. And this ensures that people can see the feedback that you've offered. Okay, so if you save it as a Word document again and upload it to give to your group members, they may not be able to visibly see that feedback because of the way it's saved. So just save it as a PDF, and then you'll go into that person's original post and respond and have, and upload that document with your comments in the response area. Okay, and then by Sunday you need to look at everybody's feedback and then start working to update your annotated bibliography. Don't forget your reading journal is also due. Okay, and then I've posted the link for the reading journal and a list of the readings that are required. I want to switch gears just a little bit to how you should check your feedback from me. Okay, so I'm going back to, these are included in the directions. Okay, this is the document that I've posted on D2L to access the Feedback Studio. So it shows you where to go. Okay, so essentially you're going to go to the assignments area where you submitted your work. This is essentially what you should see. You should see all the assignments you've submitted. Okay, so say, this is annotation exercise 1. You may see your grade here. Only when you see your grade here will you be able to see the feedback. So if you're still seeing the dashes, it just means it hasn't been graded yet. You will see under the feedback area, this is actually a hyperlink. So it should appear kind of blue when you're actually in there. You click on this and it will then take you to turn it in, it will take you to this screen where you can then click View Inline Feedback. Okay, so because it's D2L, it's a little clunky. You have to click around a little bit, but you should be able to see the feedback then. You may have to accept the terms of Turnitin before you get to this area, but that's okay. Once you're there, you should see something like this. Okay, this is a previous student's work, not from this class. It's a different assignment. You'll see something like this with blue comments. These are mine. I have typed in comments on your document and placed different notes in, bubbles. So feedback from me is always going to be in blue. Okay, that's a question on your quiz. What color is the feedback, and Turnitin? It is blue. Okay, and I want you to note you'll see different bubbles. You just click on those bubbles for information. This missing is not that you're missing something or you're missing a quotation mark, you're actually missing a comma, which I know the actual bubble itself looks a little misleading. That's why you click and note this information. Frag means you have a sentence fragment. It doesn't mean that you're fragile or anything. So make sure that you're clicking on this information to get an explanation for what you're seeing. The blue is from me, like the words and the little bubbles, and the purple is actually the Turnitin program doing some of the editing as well, okay? So that's just to give you an idea. This is what you should be able to see. You should be able to scroll. You may have to make sure some of these things are selected on the side. So if you're not seeing any purple, make sure you're clicking on this right here. If you're not seeing blue, make sure you're clicking right here. I want to go back to those reminders. Just ignore my comments in here that I did. I want you to make sure that you're looking at your annotation feedback. Note that my feedback may be direct. Y'all, please don't assume that I'm trying to be harsh with you or judgmental. If you read comments from me and they seem a little brisk or abrupt, that's just because I'm having a hard time typing right now, so I'm trying to be as direct as possible. You need to make sure you're saving your files with memorable or appropriate names. I've given you an example here just because some of you may be uploading the incorrect document, but that's what I'm going to grade, right? So make sure that you're saving your files with appropriate names that will help you locate them when you need to go and upload them. And just generally, this is good practice for academic writing. Another reminder is to use a hanging indent for citations. And so think about those examples that I showed you where you go to paragraph in the special area, you select hanging, click OK. And because I have this bulleted, it's not going to show here, but that's where you go and what you do. Remember, in your annotations, you should always reference the author, always by the last name throughout your summary. So Choi says this, she notes that. That helps you stay on topic. It helps you avoid sharing opinions or generalizations. It helps you stay direct on that person's ideas. Y'all, a good thing to work on is to avoid you in more formal academic writing because it sounds too conversational, and when I catch students doing this, if I start to highlight every time they use you, it's all over the page because it just becomes a habit. This is how we speak. We speak and we use YOU quite a bit in our language, but when we're writing, we want to avoid it because we don't want to address our audience because we're not having a conversation with them at all. We are presenting our ideas to them, right? And we want it to be formal. Use the template. I don't know what else to say, y'all. Use the template. Remember to hover over bubbles that you see in the feedback studio. You hover over them and then click them, and that will give you information in addition to my feedback, right, that's in blue. And then please make sure you're reading instructions thoroughly. Some of the grading that I've done, people are losing points because they're perhaps not attending to all parts of a prompt. They're not following the instructions that are in the assignment guidelines. I know it's a lot to take in, y'all, so just take your time, come back to it, make sure you're reading and rereading. Rereading in this section is going to be pretty necessary. And then make sure that you're posting in the Q&A area if you have some questions, right? You can always email me directly, but if you have the question, other people are going to have the question as well. So the Q&A area is set to anonymous, so your name doesn't appear with your question, but I'm going to work to make sure I'm responding. But you can always email me as well. If you have any questions, post them there, or touch base with me. Remember, I have office hours from 12 to 1 in the chat, or 12 to 1:30, or 12 to 1 for video on Thursdays. Hang in there, y'all. We're moving really quickly. Y'all are doing a great job.